helping to erase your pain and changing your future. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. When Izuku was finally released from the hospital, Aizawa, as he insisted on being called, took Izuku back to his old apartment to get the things he wanted so that he could bring them to his new home. After he collected all the items he wanted, Aizawa took him to said new home. My husbands have taken our son out for the day so that you have some time to adjust before we meet them for dinner tonight. Aizawa explains, helping Izuku bring his items into his new room. Are you sure you won't mind me staying here? Izuku frets, not wanting to step on any toes or have another person hate him. It might take some time for him to adjust to you, but it should be fine. But if he or you have any problems, we already have a friend expressing interest in taking you in should you need a new place to stay. Aizawa explains as they bring the last boxes into Izuku's new room. Good, the last thing I want is to intrude or be a burden, Izuku says with a sigh. You aren't intruding or a burden, kid, Aizawa states, ruffling Izuku's hair. Now, do you want help in packing or would you prefer if I make you a snack instead? Aizawa questions. Can you make a snack if you don't mind? Izuku asks, wanting to unpack by himself. Sure thing, Aizawa responds, taking his leave to make them both a snack. With a sigh, Izuku looks around his new room and gets to work. It was all a lot to take in, but Izuku was slowly adjusting to this new change. So far, it seemed to be going well, but he didn't want to hold his breath in case things changed again. Slowly, Izuku started to unpack. Luckily, he had organized all his boxes so he knew where things were, so it wasn't too hard. He started with his clothes before moving to put his books and notebooks on the bookcases. After that, Izuku moved the rest of his unpacked boxes into the closet. He didn't want to get too settled if he was just going to move yet again if he and Aizawa's son didn't get along. So for now, it was just his clothes and reading and writing material that was unpacked. His posters and other decorations stayed packed safely away for now, along with the things he wanted to sell. Satisfied for now, Izuku left the room, closing the door securely behind him. Hold on, kid, Aizawa asked, taking a batch of cookies out of the oven and placing them on the countertop. For now, Izuku responds with a nod, grabbing a cookie. Izuku hums in contentment as he enjoys the cookie. Glad you like it, Aizawa asks, a ghost of a smile on his face. Now don't eat too many. We're leaving for dinner in a few hours, Aizawa states. Izuku nods as he grabs one last cookie before making his way to the living room. Sitting down on the couch, Izuku happily munches on the cookies while he writes in one of his journals, wanting to update it on what was happening. Aizawa sat next to him as he worked on paperwork, the quiet atmosphere not unpleasant. It was nice actually, just the two of them existing in the same place, but with no pressure to talk or interact. It made Izuku relax even more. After a while, the cookies Izuku brought were finished, as well as his notebook being fully up to date. Carefully placing the notebook back in his bag, Izuku grabs his hero analysis for the future notebook and begins to update it with what he's learned. He updates Asmite page, and because everything in this and his other hero analysis for the future notebooks are written in a code, he has no problem blasting the number one hero and spilling all his dirty little secrets. Once that's complete, he pulls his phone out to look at other hero fights and write about them. Aizawa's stretching breaks Izuku out of his concentration a little while later, and he looks over at the hero in question. We'll be leaving soon to meet my husband and kid for dinner, Aizawa says, getting up off the couch. Is there anything I need to bring or do? Izuku asks, still looking at Aizawa. You just need to bring yourself. The restaurant may be cold, so keep that in mind if you want to change. If not, that's fine too. Aizawa answers, and Izuku nods his head, getting up with a stretch of his own. After carefully putting the notebook back in his bag, Izuku heads to his room to get changed. Putting on black ripped jeans and a green hoodie, Izuku looks in the mirror and nods to himself before making his way back out towards the living room, where Aizawa was patiently waiting for him. Aizawa was also wearing black jeans, except his weren't ripped, along with a black hoodie with his capture weapon still securely wrapped around his neck. "Ready to go, kid?" Aizawa asked, from his place by the door as he puts his shoes on. "Just about," Izuku exclaims, rushing forward to put on his own shoes. "Ready," Izuku states, with a smile after his shoes were put on. "Great, let's go," Aizawa says, leading the way out the door, before shutting and locking it behind him. Once they arrived at the restaurant, Izuku could feel the nerves coursing through his veins. What if Aizawa's husbands don't like him? What if their son doesn't like him? Sure, Aizawa said that he had a friend willing to take Izuku in if this didn't work out, but what if that changed? What if the friend didn't like him? What would happen to him then? "Kid, I can practically hear your anxious thoughts from here," Aizawa chides gently, breaking Izuku out of his train of thoughts. "It will be fine," Aizawa reassures, placing a comforting hand on Izuku's shoulder. "Now, come on, they're already waiting," Aizawa says, leading Izuku once more into the restaurant. Izuku takes a deep breath and follows after Aizawa. It's not long until they're approaching a booth with 3 people already sitting down in it. One had long blonde hair pulled up in a messy bun, with glasses on, and the other 2 had long gravity-defying hair. One of the gravity-defying hair people had light blue hair, and the other had purple. When he got closer, he couldn't help but freeze with a gasp. "Your husbands are Prison Mike and Loud Cloud?" Izuku hisses, grabbing Aizawa's arm. Aizawa lets out a huff of amusement and nods his head. "Yep," he confirms, walking forward and stopping at the front of the table, while Izuku was practically hiding behind him. "Show!" Prison Mike exclaims, eyes soft and happy to see his husband. "And this is the little listener?" Prison Mike asks, looking at Izuku. "Yup, and he already knows who you 2 are. Guessed it when he saw you," Aizawa replies, hiding a smirk in his capture weapon. "Nice to meet you, kid," Loud Cloud says with a gentle smile. "My name is Shirakumo Oboro, but you can call me anything you're comfortable with, just not my hero name when I'm off duty." Loud Shirakumo continues, giving a wink at the last part. "I'm Yamada Izashi, and same here. You can call me anything you like as long as it's not my hero name when I'm off duty." "Prison?" Yamada says with a kind smile. "And I'm Shinzo Itoshi, but you can call me Shinzo." Shinzo states, a bored look on his face, although his eyes were watching him calculatingly as if daring him to have a negative reaction. "It's nice to meet you all," Izuku responds, giving into a low bow. "I'm Midoriya Izuku, but please call me Izuku," Izuku says, getting out from the bow and rubbing the back of his neck anxiously. "Nice to meet you, Izuku. Please take a seat," Shirakumo states, moving away from the booth so Izuku could slide in. "Nice to meet you too, and thanks," Izuku responds with a bright smile. After everyone was situated, Shinzo looked at Izuku with hard, calculating eyes. "So, who's your favorite hero?" Shinzo asked, presently glaring at Izuku. "Eraserhead?" Izuku answers, but it comes out more like a question. "He's mine now," Shinzo says with a satisfied nod. "Just like that?" Izuku gapes, shock overtaking his system. "Anyone who likes Eraserhead can't be that bad," Shinzo replies with a shrug, taking a sip of his drink. Aizawa's face turns pink at that, and his husbands, the traders, just laugh at his misery. Soon, Izuku and Shinzo were in a civil conversation on how cool Eraserhead was and why he was the best hero ever. Even after dinner was served and eaten, the boys kept talking. It went from how Eraserhead was the coolest to quirk analysis, and Izuku's never had someone his age like quirk analysis before. The two were so enthralled in their conversation that they didn't notice as the adults listened to them with smiles on their faces, happy that the two were getting along so well. Meanwhile, Izuku was ecstatic to find someone who shared similar interests to him and someone he could have an intellectual conversation with. Time flew by, and before Izuku and Shinzo knew it, it was time to go home. I just realized I never got your pronouns. Izuku says, and Iko facepalm for forgetting something so important. I use he, him. Dads and pops, Aizawa and Yamada, as you know them, use he, him pronouns, while Papa or Shirakumo use he, they pronouns. Shinzo explains, and Izuku nods his head. I just use he, him too. Izuku says, and Shinzo nods his head. Good to know. Shinzo responds, and before long, their conversation once again turns to heroes and quirk analysis. It's the end of chapter 2 in 3, and I hope you enjoyed. Again, the link of the fic is going to be in the description.